And we are live.
Boom. Welcome to TNT Presents Wednesday night's main event. I am one of your hosts, Kelly Bullock, the Bullock Experience, Creek Junkie Extraordinaire. And right above me is
KB from KMB Anglers. And beside us tonight is two-time. We had to make sure that we make sure that we did that. Two-time.
Two-time. We're going to get Stan in here for that.
There you go, two-time. Record holder, Tennessee record Blue Cat holder. The latest being, of course, I have to say it right, 122.3.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. 0.3 in there.
So he's going to be sharing a few things with us tonight. And hopefully if we can come away with any knowledge that he has, that maybe it'll increase our catch ratios on our own lakes.
Yep.
So looks like we got
get your questions ready and everything. So toward the end, we will, or in the middle, if we get a little break here and there, we'll do some questions and stuff like that.
And of course, don't forget, we will be doing the spotlight of the week about 9 o'clock or so, give or take, like we always do. So stay tuned for that for sure.
Yep.
And looks like we've already got about 9 people in the house. Yep. 9 wonderful people.
We got a few of them that's already got Dominic in the house. He said he's coming for you, Micah.
That's right. Already talking trash.
Yeah. That's all right. I love competition.
Look at that.
Jim Rhodes that says, "Where am I?"
there is Mr. Jim Rhodes. Okay, so I have to. I promised Jim that I would do this, and we're getting quite a few people in the house right now. So let me go ahead and get this out of the way so that we can turn the show over to Micah. Jim Rhodes is by far the best fisherman I have ever been with. Not only is he a great guide, he will bait your hook, put them in the water for you, and all you have to do is catch the fish that he puts you on when you're on his boat. Vote Jim Rhodes. Jim Rhodes approves this medicines. It was great. It was great being on the boat with Jim this morning. For those of you that might have seen it, we had a great day catching numbers. Nothing quality, nothing quality, but we had a great time. I had a great time. Being back out there, it actually reminded me. He lost a bit. It actually reminded me a lot of being on the boat with Pop back whenever we were out there before we started trying to target big fish, and was just out there fishing and getting the numbers. So that alone really made my day, of course. And of course, it didn't hurt being that I was live streaming and catching. We wound up catching 12 fish altogether, 10 on the live stream, and then 2 more before we actually took off that day. And I will say this: I was saying that in jest, but yeah, Jim's a great guy. He wanted to take me out this, and on his boat, and he was hoping that we would get on some fish. And that was actually the first time out of the times that we've been together on the boat that it actually we actually caught a lot of fish. It was just perfect conditions. Honestly,
after he caught that big fish, the very first one, and he caught the little dink, the next one, I would have pushed him off the boat. I would have pushed him off the boat for it.
I was like, well. I consider that I was doing what the hat said, hogging. Yeah, but it was actually pretty cool this morning, and I had loads of fun. So thank you, Jim. I know I told you earlier, but thank you for inviting me out there. Looking forward to doing that again. Looks like we got a few more people in the house. I see Average Fisherman. Monty Sheets is in the house. Coastal Waters, the Bud Files. Anybody else I miss?
Bugman 22.
Yeah, so I thought you said him a while ago, but okay.
I showed that he said that you lost a bet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's funny.
Fish is in the house. Mike Sampsey is in the house.
Sappy. Got Catfish Bill is in there.
Yep.
So, all right. I think
there's HS and there's Palmetto Cats.
Hey, there he is. Hey, Kev. All right.
Don't even start, Kevin. You're gonna make us hungry.
I know, really. All right. So I got all that. Now that I've got all of that in the public sponsorship out of the way, we can turn this over to Micah and or Mika and let's see if we can learn some secrets for tonight. So what I know Kelly was we were talking a little bit before the show and everything, and Kelly was mentioning your hooks and everything that you've been experimenting with, but along with that, what basically do you look for? I mean, it's kind of a common question that we ask, but you're killing it out there. We're noticing that, and you know, you're getting on them pretty heavy, and have heavy. So with that being said, what kind of insight can you give us there, buddy?
Well, I guess the biggest thing I can give anybody that's watching, listening, however this goes out, is just following the fish would be the best thing I could tell. So like if you just kind of follow the pattern of the fish. Right now we're in that transition period, as everybody knows. So the fish are kind of, you'll catch them shallow, you'll catch them deep, you'll catch them mid depth. But now, as far as me on the river, it kind of gets easy this time of year for me because we get a little bit more current because they done pulled all the water down to summer or to winter pool, and so our current is a little bit more intensified in my area. When you go a little bit south of my area, of course, that's what I consider the old river. So it's a little bit skinnier, a little bit shallower. So the current's a little bit more there. But right now, everything is current orientated, and you just look for nothing more than just current breaks at this point. And then, of course, you take that along with where the bait migration is, where they're moving to. Water temps are falling a little bit more. So early in the morning, the bait's going to be up shallow, close to structure, which I have a lot of riprap in my area. So the bait pulls the riprap, which obviously pulls all the, the predatory fish up towards them. And it's just that, and, a lot of times just sheer luck, coming across the right spot at the right time. Because I have scanned miles of river and I have seen hundreds of fish, but you're never going to get them all to bite at the same time. That's kind of the biggest thing about that. You just got to kind of be there when they want to eat, and which is weird because here lately it's been midday to about 3 o'clock. I have an awesome bite window. And so I used to go out in the morning, before the sun come up, and get out there in the dark and unbuckle the boat. And now I sleep until 9 o'clock. But of course, it'll change once, it gets a little bit colder. But right now, that's how it is.
Yeah, I know on Lake Sinclair, that's what we were, and Jim and I were discussing that earlier this morning too. On our lake, from about 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, you can forget it. You'll pick up a few. I mean, you'll work for it to pick them up, but you'll pick up a few. But that first thing in the morning, like you said, right, get out there at the dark, get set up, just especially if you got perfect conditions, you can just hammer them. And then after 2 o'clock, the bite picks back up, and then going into the evening, it really picks up out there on that lake. So for it to be I've never experienced a midday bite like that. I've been to several lakes over in South Carolina, and it seems to be the norm as well. And I don't know if that might be something because we are more southern, than you are.
It could be, but I'll tell you, both state records come out. I caught both of them about noon, both times.
Wow.
And both times was in, one was in September, so it was still pretty hot, and the other one was in, I think it was June. Yeah, it was past June, so it was pretty hot. So, and they were both right about noon. So
wow.
It's hard to say, but I just know that because we're pretty heavily reliant on TVA for current. So 90% of the time, if we haven't had a big rainfall, something like that, they go on a obviously a generator schedule. And so when they start, which Cheatham Dam is the next dam above me, so they'll start pushing. Well, they'll start turning on generators about sometimes 6 to 9 o'clock in the morning, but we won't see that current because it's got to get a long ways to me until about 10, 11 o'clock, sometimes noon. And when and it doesn't last all day. That's because we haven't had hardly any rain, the last about the last month. And so it's been pretty steady like that for a while. And so you could pretty much just time it. That's why I said I don't even get up early in the morning unless, I just want to have breakfast or something. But but that's going to change. I know it's going to change because we got rain coming. So once we start getting that fluctuation of rainfall and, current flow, because they're going to have to move more water because they always do that. TVA has been pretty good about, but since we had that big flood, I think 5-6 years ago, they've been on top of it. So.
Well, that makes sense now that you say that the bite would be about midday because of
the time it's like the fish have always they've come conditioned to it right as of right now because it's been so consistent for the last couple months, and so they've been just like I said conditioned to how the current flows, and they know when the best time to feed is. So that and at night they feed pretty heavy at night as well. But
yeah. And like that, and that always goes back toward the schedule of the dams and stuff like that, because where they're pushing that water out, if they stay constant with that flow of water, they will get used to that.
Yeah.
Then if they change it, then it's going to take. It's going to throw them off, and it's going to throw your fishing off because now you're going to have to readjust for everything because they're readjusting.
Yeah, and so so. I'll go back to what your first question you asked earlier was that, how I find fish, stuff like that. It's that plays a big role in it. Weather conditions, what they call it, the dam schedules, stuff like that. And it's not even so much the one above me. It's also the one below me, which is in Kentucky. When they start spilling their water, and if it's drawing the water from where I'm at, well, it's going to pull them, everybody knows rising water is great to fish. Falling water is pretty tough. Yeah. So if you keep that in mind, that'll help you better determine if you need to be deeper because you're going to catch some fish as they come out. Or, obviously when the water's rising, you have a lot of more options when the water's coming up. But that's, you got to, and weather plays a big deal with that. But a lot of times I pay a large amount of attention to, how the dams are flowing that day or what time, when, they run 2 generators, how many, spillways they got open. It's just all that plays a big factor, especially with, you said, rivers. Lakes, I haven't really fished lakes a lot in the last probably 15 years, but because I like chasing these river fish. I think it's, I ain't going to say it's harder, but it's different each time you go out, a lot of times.
And that might be reasons for it was like, and we'll come back to Palmetto right quick. But I want to showcase this. Jim was saying that our lake is like, he was being funny, but he said our lake is like fishing in a 3-day-old fish water, no current hardly ever. And it is true to a certain degree. Our lake is actually consists, there's actually 2 lakes that's separated by a dam that comes off the Oconee River. So it is river fed. So you've got one, on the opposite side On the northern side is the dam coming in off the river, and then that feeds into Lake Oconee, and and then Lake Oconee, of course, feeds into Lake Sinclair, and then of course it goes back into the Oconee River. And so Lake Oconee actually is a better fishery than Sinclair actually is. Although mean, I fish Sinclair more than I do Lake Oconee because it's something I've always done. It's I more or less know the lake now, so it's just easier for me to get out there on that lake. But yeah, we're same thing. You're talking about not being a big lake fisherman. We still have to rely on those currents coming off of Georgia Power, and that's a Georgia Power lake.
Yeah.
And so we have to rely on those currents as well. And Jim's right. There's a lot of time where there's no real current being pushed, especially during the summertime, because they'll rise that pool up, because of people coming in to vacation and that kind of thing, which I hate going out there when that happens. But during the times when they're generating basically late at night and then early morning and then late at night. So what you were saying about them fish getting acclimated to those currents makes sense that we would have that kind of bite during the mornings, and then of course it kind of calms down, like you said.
During the day.
Yeah. Go ahead and display that back, Kelly, for Palmetto, so we can address that. There you go.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So the rod was, supposedly was supposed to come out, I guess, a couple weeks ago. But with the manufacturer, there has been some delays due to what I was told was contract issues. No big worry. They're just trying to figure out the new money for the new year. It's just getting everything finalized. You know how it's got to go back and forth to lawyers, stuff like that. But it's going to be fine. At the very latest, and this is at the very latest, it will be released at CatCon. But I'm hoping to be before that. I'm actually hoping to be no later than December. But if it's not, then we're probably looking at January. But if it's going to be January, then we might as well wait till February. So, but it should be soon. Like I said, that's the last word that I got. So I don't have an exact time frame that it's going to be released. But I will tell you this: it's going to be very special. It's going to be a pretty special deal. The color scheme on it means a lot to me, and what I'm going to do with it means a lot to me. So just be prepared and ready for that, because it's going to be pretty cool.
Awesome.
No hints?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I told you
I tried, guys. I tried. I'm not. I don't have it in me like Kevin to suck up to like he does the Jim Rhodes. I just don't have that in me to just do that.
I made a promise and I had to keep my promise.
I know. So we were talking about like the fishing and having to change your thing because of the water and stuff. But we talked right before the show, talk about hooks. And a lot of us, and you'll agree to it too, because I know a lot of people in the fishing community that stick with one set of hooks.
Yeah.
They find that one that they like real well. And I put it towards you is, after catching 2 state records, you would think, two state records, last being the 122.3.
Yeah.
You would think that hook that you used will be that is the one that you always use, but it's not the case, is it?
No, it's not. And like I was telling you before the show, a lot of people don't see the fish I miss. Or that I will fight for literally 5 to 10 minutes and they just pop off. And now I can understand, if I lift up, I fight him for the first 2-3 seconds, he pulls away. Okay. But when we're going back and forth for sometimes 10 to 15 minutes, and I ain't even seen the fish, then he just comes off. Well, so I had to change that, but I'll back it all the way up. So when I caught the 118 pounder, I was using a 8-aught Gamakatsu circle hook. the octopus circle hook. And, but I caught a lot of fish. I mean, I caught a lot of, 40s, 50s, and 60s on that hook and never had a problem. Well, after that fish, I'm kind of like, crap. There's, because I'm able to put more time in, so I'm able to catch more fish, and I'm catching, bigger fish and stuff. So I was like, well, I got to up the game, So I took the same style hook, which was the Mad Catz hook. It's still a Gamakatsu style hook. There's a bunch of them out there, but they're different names on them, whatever. They may even come from the same manufacturer. I'm not 100% sure.
I say a lot of them are, yeah.
Yeah, but so I bumped up to a 9/0 and I fished with that, but I would still lose fish. Yes, then I caught the 122 on it. That was great and everything, and I caught some 60s and 70s, on them and never had a problem. But I had them fish that, again, I would fight for 10, 15 minutes and never see, because they would just somehow, some way pull off. So I fished a tournament, and this is where this kind of really, like, I guess the straw that broke the camel's back. You know what I mean? I was fishing a tournament, me and my wife, and I had a monster. I mean, he was, because we've all caught, bigger fish. And, when you can't turn a fish, you can't, stop him. You can't do nothing. You're pretty much just along for the ride. But he pulled drag. I picked the rod up, and I was fighting him, and I finally got him to turn, and the hook popped out. And was, that probably, I don't know this for 100% fact, so don't get me wrong, but that would have definitely been big fish of the tournament for sure. And that was really the only good bite I had all day. So after that, I'm kind of like, I've got to do something different. I have to. I could, all my fingers and toes, I can count how many big fish I've lost. Big fighting fish. I ain't gonna say they were big fish, but big fighting fish. So then that's when I got on this hook quest, man. And it's been on YouTube and everything else, has been well received, so there's a lot of people out there like me, like us, that want to figure out what it is. Well, what I can base so far, what I've come across is, again, that there is a lot of hooks out there that are exactly the same. They have different names. They're called a different size, but they're exactly the same. They're the same wire. They're the same bend. They're the same offset. They're the same everything. All right. There's a bunch of them out there like that. Now, I come across, I'm sure that you was watching. I think you said you watched one of my videos, but
the last one, I watched the last one where you talked. You had the two different style, the eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so Mad Catz, they don't have it up yet. They're going to do a little bit different design on them before they start selling them. But they had a short shank circle hook that's not non-offset. So I guess they call that an inline circle hook.
Yeah.
So I got a couple packs of them. He sent me a couple packs of them. So I tried them out the first time. That was my very first hook, different hook that I tried. Well, I offset them. I got to have that offset. I don't know, because I know a lot of people that use an inline hook and do great with them. I don't know, but I use them circle hooks, and I offset them myself. I offset them probably about 2 to 3 degrees, but I didn't offset them on the shank where it starts to bend towards the point. I offset, where it goes straight up to the point. That's where I offset it. Well, I went out and had a phenomenal day. I mean, I did pretty good. Everything that bit the hook, I didn't lose. I caught, they were deep hook sets, they were behind the tooth patch. They were just exactly where I want them hooks to sit. And then I was watching another show, John from Ironside Catfishing. He had a hook that I really liked. And so I got a couple of those, and I took them on a couple of trips. They performed exactly the same. I mean, just they're another short shank, straight eye offset hook. And then the most recent one that I did, which you watched the video of, was the triple threats from Whisker Seekers.
Yeah.
And I got to say, man, they're a pretty good hook as well. Everything matter of fact, I went again today. I didn't catch no big ones, but I did catch a lot of 8 to 10 to 15 pounders. And they performed perfect. The only fish that I lost were the ones that never grabbed the hook. They just grabbed the bait. So, I was talking with another guy about it, and he says, well, it's a time of year. Okay, granted, I'll give you that. It is a time of year because right now they're wanting to feed, so they're going to attack anything that comes near them. So they're going to inhale it a lot more. They're going to be not so skittish of the hook. So what I said was, okay, all right, well, I'll just continue using them 3 different hooks all the way up until summer. because that's where the tail's going to tail right there. Because if you know summer fish, they're finicky, picky.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know, they don't commit. You know, things like that. So then we kind of got into a conversation about the Gamakatsu style hook, how the shanks on them are a lot longer than, say, the short shank hooks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking back and forth about how maybe the fish sense that, you know, because they are very picky. They are. I mean, they can tell the difference between 2-day-old bait and fresh bait. You know, I've seen it. I've run both side by side, and the fresh bait got hit every time. The 2-day-old bait did not get touched. So I don't know if that's true, but it just seems like
I've seen it. I've seen another fisherman has done that too with fresh bait and old bait, and the old bait's what hit because it's stinkier. It's got a lot more scent to it because it does stink a lot more.
Yeah, but it's either way. You know, it's one way or the other. You know what I mean? So that's what I was kind of thinking about the hooks. It got me really to thinking. So that's when I really started focusing on just finding the short shank hooks, and so far so good. But he's right though. I mean, time will tell. You know, we get to the picky time of year, but these fish are, you know, they don't want to really feed. They just kind of don't. They don't want to do much. You know, you almost got to knock them in the head with the bait before they'll eat it. But that, you know, that'll for me that'll tell, because I do lose a lot of fish in the summertime for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got a couple of them that's in here in chat. Adam from Cat Claws,
Dexter,
and a couple of them like the triple threat. Paul Meadows said he likes the Mustad Demons 10-aughts or his favorite.
I've heard about those too. I haven't got those yet to try them out, but I've got in my little room downstairs where I do all my rigging and stuff. I got a notebook full of just different hooks that people want me to try. So I'm going to try them all. I really am. I'm going to do my best to get them all out there, and you'll see it just as good as I see it.
And here's one thing that it's been a lot of people talk about is using J hooks for summer, and just using circle hooks for the winter,
and offset those J hooks a little bit.
Yeah, offset.
When you use them.
I think that offset's key. I think the only place where offset probably wouldn't hurt or benefit you in any way, and that would be probably suspending. I would think. That's just me thinking, but I'm sure there's somebody out there way smarter than me can tell me different. So,
well, with the suspending, and I've recently got into that and that was because Jim suspends a lot, and that's what we were doing this morning. And he uses the triple threats too. And so, and they are a little bit offset anyways, from the factory. When they hit the bait, if you're suspended and they come, they come up from the bottom and grab that bait, it's that offset when they go back down or they go forward, it's going to turn regardless, just like you are on the river,
Yeah.
And so suspending, in my opinion, anyways, I don't think would really matter about whether it's offset. Now I've used some short shanks. I've got the Mustad. I've got. I love my Gamakatsus. I've always have. And I prefer them. I've tried some of the Diotsi. That what I said it earlier, Kelly.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
I've tried them, and they seem to work pretty good too, as far as that's concerned. But on that same note, like this morning, we had the same thing. We had a lot of fish come unbuttoned, and some of it was them just lipping that that bait, and everything. And just not really commit, and they hit it and go off with it, and then we would get all and we get out there and try to reel down on them. But I'm like you, a lot of those hooks out there, and I kind of did my homework back in the day too, and noticed that a lot of those hooks are coming basically from the same manufacturer. And like I said, there may be a slight difference, but it ain't by much.
Because I kind of started out with the Team Catfish. Because Kevin knows that when I first started the show, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
2 years ago. I always talked about buying equipment to what you can afford.
Yeah.
And I live that, and that's the way I live my life in fishing. Is I don't go out here and buy the most expensive stuff because I don't need to buy it, and I can afford. I can go to Walmart, buy my Berkeley big game rod and reels and Team Catfish hooks, but I have since then moved over to I'm using one of our fellow community guys is Uncle Lou's hooks. They are sharp.
Yeah.
Sharp as can be. The point on them, the barb on them are so sharp. And if you just barely even touch them on your skin, it's going to poke. I mean, it literally it'll cut you. And
Let
I
me
like them.
with that. You're talking about them being sharp and everything. Leads me into another question, which was for Micah. So barbless or barbs? What do you prefer on your hook?
Barbed for sure. Yeah,
Barbs. Okay.
fighting a blue, they'll throw some slack in that line quicker than anything. So yeah, definitely
You don't
barb.
want to pop out. That barb kind of helps
Yeah.
lock it in
And
there.
the reason I asked that question, there was some debate not too long ago on that, whether I think the argument for the barbless was that it tended to penetrate better. But on that same note, just like you said, it would have a in my and that was the backside is that it
Yeah,
would pop off.
I think the barb within reason. I got some hooks the other day. The barb, it's still a circle hook, so it still had the I call it the claw point, where it bends towards the shank. But right below that, the barb on it was pushed out so far that I don't even think I think if it hit anything solid, it would stop right there before the barb. So now that, yes, I would think the barb needs to be bigger, and you wouldn't think so. Okay, so I kind of I get in the weeds way more than I need to when it comes to stuff like this. But okay, so if you take the hook point, all right, you follow it down of how wide the hook itself gets. Like we'll just say any a light wire, heavy wire hook, it doesn't matter. But if that barb is like if it sticks out further than the diameter of that wire itself, you get because I've caught fish right there. I mean, on the back of the tooth patch, and it penetrated all the way to the barb and stopped. Now I still caught the fish, yes, but I'm not saying it wasn't into the jaw, but it was behind it. And where when I had the smaller barb, I noticed that it'll penetrate to the head. So I guess, yeah, either way. But I would think that the bigger the barb, the less chance of penetration. Yes, I would agree with that. But with no barb, nah, because you take a big risk because you get them blues rolling, and then they your line slides off their fin, then you got 2 foot of slack. Well, all it takes is one right move, they're gone.
They're gone. Exactly. Backlash makes a point there, and he is right. And that was part of some of the argument too. Where North Carolina, you can't use a barb. There are areas that you can't use barbed.
And see, areas like that, which actually kind of sort of in a way that's a good idea. I know they're more or less thinking about the fish care stuff like that,
right?
Because if you like we've all done it, you hook one through the eye, okay, well you got to pull it back out. Well, he's lost an eye. One of the benefits with catfish, they don't really use them a whole lot anyway, but it's not a good excuse. I mean, I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, we actually
don't let my mother-in-law, my wife hear you say all that kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, my mother-in-law right now, she doesn't want me to talk or watch anything around her that has to do with anything but fishing because she gets on me. It's like you're killing the fish.
Oh man.
we talking about losing an eye. We had one today. That's what happened. The barb went up or the hook went up into its eye, and of course you can't save it. I mean, and no matter how you try, and we all do, we try to we do try to save any part of that fish that we possibly can.
Yeah.
Unless we're catching for food, but that's a different story. But yeah, we did have one that happened, and when that happens, I actually feel bad for them, you know. but you know, like you said, they don't use their eyes that much. But it's still not an excuse.
Right. Yeah, it's still not a. I mean, it's not a bad practice, but it's not good either. You know, I mean, I got it, but I know that I've caught hundreds of fish with one or no eyes. You know, I don't know for that same reason, but they just don't have them.
Yeah.
So they don't keep them from eating. I know that.
Yeah, that's right. So we are at that 9 o'clock hour. I think maybe we go ahead and do that spotlight of the week, and then we'll get back to Micah. Get over here where I can get to it, and get some more insight to what he likes. So here we are, the spotlight of the week. Go ahead and introduce that there, Kelly.
Spotlight of this week is a good dear friend of mine and our community.
He's in the chat.
He is in the chat right now. I did make sure he was. I did text him on my phone to make sure he was here. I told him that he needed to be watching, but sit back, relax, and let's take a look at Mr. Bugman 22.
There we go. And here we go.
I'm headed to the bottom of the bottle. I've been drowning, I've been floating away. Every other dollar that I got in bed, I'm probably winning it away. I'm okay, I ain't liking it, babe. I don't even wanna talk, I'm just smoking my haze. I've been stuck in my ways, I've been stuck in for days. I've been staring at the clock as the radio plays. I'm enslaved. Yeah, rolling another, I'm stuck in my seat for the whole control of my speech. Yeah, I've been trying to get off this couch for a minute and a whole week. No kidding, I'm skinny, I cannot eat. Got a million things that depend on me. Yeah, every friend in my family. From a girl, every fan I meet myself. I'm too on till I'm too off. Come down, make new thoughts, like jumping off of that rooftop. Hold my devil when I do not to make moves based on my mood drops. Like who's lost? Like who's lost? It's yo, steadily killing me, running my brain full of shame. I don't wanna lose weight. Full of stage, trying to find my pain. Tears start coming out of that rain. My day really not game. I'ma never slow down. I'ma never behave. Stuck inside this prison, inside this cage.
There we are. Yep. The Bugman 22.
Yep.
And that was Kelly put that one together tonight. Normally I do them, and I've gotten to where everything that I've been going through lately, I forget to do it, and, and Kelly stepped up and did that one. It's a really.
I appreciate Mr. Bugman for sending me those photos and stuff.
That's right.
Definitely appreciate it. And hey, anybody that's in chat and you want to be put on a spotlight for us through the week, just get a hold of us, and we'll get with you, and you can send us some pictures, and we'll set you up.
You can get a hold.
It's our way of giving back to the community, definitely.
That's right. Yeah, you can get a hold of me on Facebook, Kevin Lee McGill. That's if you don't already have me. Feel free to add me if you have Facebook, and of course, Kelly there you got one of them long.
Yep, you can just you can just email me at kcsbullock@gmail.com. So you can use my company email. It's fine. I don't use it for nothing else. Bugman, he said, "Wow, this is cool." So thanks, guys. I had no idea that was going on. You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Got Justin's fishing fetish in the house. I saw that double hook angling, of course. Is in the house. 922 crappie barbecue, BBQ, I should say. We always say barbecue, and it's not actually meant as we say it. There was somebody else I saw had come in. I wanted to shout out Cat Claws. They come in while we were chatting a while ago.
Yeah, Shad Daddy's in
And
the house.
Daddy, that's right. That's right. So
We got 16, 17 wonderful people in here. Appreciate you all. Hit that thumbs up, share it out, and also at the bottom of the screen, if you don't see it going across the screen, but that is Micah's YouTube page. Make sure you go there and check him out. He's got some awesome content on there. And if you want to listen to more of him talking about those hooks, he's got some videos on it.
there you go. There you go.
Why he's catching some fish. Fish. So hey.
That's right. So uh-oh. Let me get over here and there we go. Now I can see the chat better. Other than of course you're experimenting with hooks, what else do you or have going on that you experimenting with? How about line? How about fishing line? Have you done any experimenting, or do you have a certain kind that you like?
Well, I started off with big game, Berkeley big game. I love it. I did start branching off to I tried some Andes. I actually got into the Mad Cat stuff too for a while. But I just went back to my big game. I have a lot of trust in it. Now I tell you the one thing about the Mad Cats, I love it. It's a great line. The only thing is they make it to where it has no memory. Okay, so the problem with that is for me, for the clamps that I use for my planer boards, they're just I guess you call them the pressure clamps. They're not the ones you got to clip down.
Yeah.
Well, on that line, to keep the memory low and keep it smooth and cast further, stuff like that, well, there's a coating on the line. And so it does not fare well with the clips that I like using, because any type of little bit of pull or, because I fish a lot of current and it slips right on out. So that's what led me to go back to big game. But like I said, I've got, I've used it since I was a kid. I mean, it's been around that long. So
oh yeah.
I trust it. I trust it on everything. I trust it on my bait rods. I trust it on my catfish rods, my crappie rods. I use it on everything.
Yeah, that's what I use. I use Berkeley big game on mine too.
Yeah, and it's because I was using Andes. Andes is a great line, but it's expensive. I mean, you got to think because I'm running the pin squalls, and I'll run the same line about 7-8 trips. And then I'm replacing it. It's just, maybe sometime sooner than that, depending on, what I fish that day. And I will change it. So you think about if you buy a 4,000 or 5,000 yard roll, that Andes, you're looking at, a couple $100, if not more. Where the big game, I get almost a mile roll of line for, $80. So, and it works just as good. They say the memory's bad in it. It's not. It really isn't. You stretch it out one good time, it's fine.
Well, I use Andes myself. I started using it. I liked it, and I got introduced in a tournament actually, and to Andes, and I really liked the way it handled. And so, I bought a roll. Not quite. It's not the expensive ones, but what I could afford and to line my rods with. But my leaders, I've got 100-pound or 50-pound, and some 100-pound big game that I use for my leaders. For the same thing. I mean, it's strong, it's durable, it's been around for a while, it's tried and true. But I'll use them for my leaders, and of course I'll use the Andes, for my main line, and everything. And the reason I asked was I actually went through a little bit of a phase where I was trying out new line. I was trying out braid. I was trying out mono. I was trying out I can't even remember all of
floral and all this
and all that. And so I tried slime line, and slime line. A lot of people like slime line, but I wasn't too impressed with it. It holds a lot of memory. They say it don't, but it does. I mean,
that line like that, I call it weed eater string. That's exactly what it's like. It's if it has a lot of bad memory, so like even that Zebco, you talk about lines that I've used some of that Zebco stuff, and that makes it, if you can find the 80 and stuff like that, it makes a great leader line. But for main line, no, because that's one of them ones that, like, especially if you're using like a spinning reel or something like that, you wouldn't be able to cast 10 feet with it, because it's just the line slap on the eyes is just terrible.
Yeah.
Where the big game is, it is a little bit better, but it's not the best. I'll agree with you. The Andes was probably some of the best line I've ever used.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't afford to keep buying it as much as I want to,
yeah,
because I change lines so often, and I'll fish with I only fish with 6 rods, so at any given time I'm changing line on 6 rods. But if you know how much line 40-pound test a squall 20 will hold, that's quite a bit. So
before we get to this one, just curious, because we talk about leaders and stuff like that a lot, and a lot of people use big, heavy pound line leaders. What did you catch your records on? What size leaders?
The very first one, 30-pound test. I had 30-pound test main line, 30-pound test leader.
Wow.
Second one was
tells people you don't have to have these big 100+ pound leaders on your line. You can still.
But I'll be completely honest with you. When that fish bit, I wish I had it. I mean, to be honest with you,
to get it in quicker.
Huh? Well,
to get it in quicker.
That's that. Yeah, because there wasn't much I could do with him. For the longest. If it wasn't for the fact that I had my wife with me, she was able to reel into the other rods, and then I was able to kind of get over top of him. That was the best. But where we were a lot of the time where I was fighting him, if he'd have went down another 10 feet, he'd have been in logs, sticks, a buoy chain. He'd have been able to get into a lot of stuff. But now the second one I had, I was running 60-pound leader with 40-pound main line, and it worked out really good. I still had all the rest of my rods out. Of course, if you've seen the video, I was by myself. There wasn't like I could fight him, reel the rest of the rods in. I was able to kind of get him to me, but I have since then moved up to 80-pound leader line. And for the reason is because I caught he was a 62-pounder. And by the time I got him in the boat, got him in the net, the line broke. And, but it broke right at the hook. Now it could have been the way the hook laid, or the line laid against maybe where the eye clamps together. Could have been that. Could have been the fact that where the hook was in his mouth, he was able to grind on that line right there against the hook. I don't know. The only thing I do know is I bumped it up another 20 pounds, and I ain't had a problem since. So, but I can see where people, like you were saying, I caught a 100-pound fish with 30-pound test line. That was come to find out that actually would have been an IFGA record. I didn't know that, but it's too late now because I was supposed to do all that before I released the fish. But I don't,
And that's another thing a lot of people don't know is, even though you have a state record, you can have multiple records with that state record, depending on your line test and everything else.
Yeah, because I don't know what kind of record it would have been, but it would have been, I think it was the largest, I guess it'd be Blue Cat caught on that type of line. So I didn't know that, but I would have had to transport that fish everywhere, and I wasn't going to do that. Because I had him in a live well long enough that day, and I wasn't going to keep him out no longer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you read that off, Kelly.
Okay.
I know I'll stumble over it.
This is from Jim Rhodes. There, it says, "Hey, if you had to come to Georgia and catch a big blue, what bait would you use if you are not allowed to cast net local bait? You had to bring bait from a local river you fish primarily."
Okay, well, that's kind of seems like a 2-part question. Could I catch something local there, or do I have to bring something with me?
You can catch it there. You're just not allowed to use a cast net, or you can bring it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had to, especially in Georgia, because see, I used to live in Augusta for a lot of years when I was younger. There, the best bait there was the what do you call it? A perch.
Perch.
Yeah, perch and bluegill was the best.
Well, you know where Lake Sinclair is. Then, if you lived over in Augusta.
We used to. Well, I was a lot younger. My dad was stationed there in at Fort Gordon.
But
we used to fish all around over there. I think it was what was it? We used to fish. What was it? Is it called Clark's Hill?
Clark's Hill. That's right.
Yeah. We used to fish that a lot. Yeah, we used to fish that a lot. We caught some. I say they were big, but I don't know how big the catfish were. We used to catch a bunch of catfish out of there.
Yes, it's got some because it actually the South Carolina and Georgia line runs right through it. So part of Clark's Hill is over on South Carolina, part of it is over on the Georgia line, and but it does hold a lot of good fish, catfish.
Yeah, back then we'd find a dock or clear spot on the bank, and that's where we would typically fish. That's back when we'd catch them to eat and stuff. So,
and Justin was saying a while ago, I was noticing here, he was talking about, and I'll spotlight that, leader line that he uses is 80 pounds slime line. He said he loves the way the knot, the way it ties.
I'd like to know is that line coated? Like, does it have a?
I didn't really, of course, like I said, I was not impressed with it. So I didn't take the time to really, like I said, it just to me, it just had a lot of memory, and I couldn't do, I just couldn't do it.
Because like I said, with that Berkeley big game, the 80-pound test I'm using now, so you better wet it because it dry. There's no slip to it, and that's one of the benefits of it is once you got that knot cinched, it ain't going nowhere. Whether you snell it, regular fisherman's knot, something like that.
That's right. Yeah, Justin makes a good point. In some states, you cannot bring bait from other states or other waters for that matter. South Carolina is that way. I can't transport bait from Georgia to South Carolina to use. I have to catch it locally over there.
See, like here in Tennessee, so we could use anything for bait as long as we catch it by legal means and it's of legal size. We could use crappie, bass, white bass. It doesn't matter. We can use anything.
That's right. That's what it is here in Georgia. So.
But now, a buddy of mine, I won't mention his name, but that's when they were biting wood on white bass. This was earlier in the summer, and so he caught him some. Figured he'd go to Alabama and use that for a tournament. I said, Bubba, you might want to check the laws.
Yeah,
it's illegal. It's illegal to use white bass down there. Now, I guess you could transport like skipjack and shad, but they have to be dead, which that makes a lot of sense. But but yeah, he was trying to transport some white bass. You might want to check the laws, Bubba.
and you make a valid point right there as well. I fish like I said, Sinclair is my go-to lake. That's because it's close to me. I have fished Oconee, of course. I haven't fished Clark's Hill yet, but I'm planning on that pretty soon. But I do fish Lake Wiley up there on North Carolina, South Carolina.
That's a lake on my bucket list for sure.
I tell you what, it is a very good lake. I mean, it's I would literally say, my opinion, mind you, that it is just as good, if not in some regards better than the Santee Cooper. And
really,
everybody knows what Santee Cooper.
I've heard a lot of good things about that lake. I have, and that's, like I said, that's on my bucket list to make it down there and fish that.
You ever get down that way, I tell you'll go back. Justin fishing fetish will tell you, we've been down there fishing several times. We got a buddy that Richard Workscow, and I'm stumbling over my words tonight. But anyways, he's got he lives over there on Lake Wiley, and it is. When you fish it, the first time you fish it, you'll be making plans to go back. I can promise you. But with that being said, you better know both states' laws, because but just like on Clark's Hill, where Georgia and South Carolina meet in the lake, same holds true on Lake Wiley. North Carolina and South Carolina literally split that lake, and and I can't remember which state right off the top of my head, but you can't use crappie on one state, but you can use it in the other, and you can't use bass in one state, but you can use it in the other. You get caught on using the wrong bait, and it would be. I mean, you start out on South Carolina side of the lake, not paying attention, and just move
Mhm.
just across that border, that line, using the wrong bait, they will find you quick.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
so it's best to learn when you're on lakes like that, or river systems for that matter, because it's the
Mhm.
same way. It's best to learn what is the common denominator bait that you can use.
Right.
That's the bit. And like for both lakes, you can use white perch. And that seems to be the go-to bait for everybody that fishes it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it
Whatever's
is for me.
prominent there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. But that was a good point you were talking about. Know your laws and
You got to do
and
that.
follow
Yeah.
those, because
It'd be
it
bad
will
because that's a big ticket, man. And it'd be kind of
be
and especially if you go down there and you get a ticket and then you zero the tournament, that's just insult to injury.
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, looks like we got fishing with the squirrels in.
Yep.
Yes,
Your buddy Fury's into.
I was going to say Tom's in the house. I saw that a while ago, and I was going to shout out to him right quick. He
Yep.
says that he loves Lake Wiley too. He's been down there. He lives up in Philly, and up around the Philly area, and he's been up down there in Fish Lake Wiley as well. And of course, Squirrel, of course, lives up there. I think he's actually on the North Carolina side, but he's
Mhm.
in that same area, and he states that in South Carolina there's no game, what they consider game fish, which that's pretty common in every state. That
Mhm.
what they
Yeah.
consider game fish, but
Yeah.
that's the
Well, if
thing
it has a
too.
size limit and a creel limit, it's considered a game fish.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
and
said, "Don't put me in that Philly crowd. It's Pittsburgh."
Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, not Philly.
He said, "Don't put me in that Philly crowd."
I knew it was somewhere back up in that way, but
Well,
anyways,
I want to jump a little bit off of your uh, state records a little bit, because there's something you've been enjoying really well and been using one of our fellow fishermen's hand tied jigs is going skipjack fishing.
Oh yeah, I did it's an older video when I first got them, but I did a video. I think it was called Chasing Bait or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wish I could remember the name of it. If he's in here, he could educate me a little bit more. But them things are sweet.
Yeah.
And so I tied them up just like a sabiki rig, because I had him do me some 16th ounce and some 8th ounce. And so I put 4 16th ounce and then the 1 8th ounce, and I flat slayed the skipjack with them thing, and white bass. I take a single one when they're running, and I catch the crap out of them.
Yeah. And he's talking about our good buddy double hook angling, Mr.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah. And he made me some stinger flies.
Yeah.
I use them, but I haven't caught anything on them yet. So that's as soon as I do, there's going to be a million pictures,
there you
because
go.
I see other people use them and catch fish on them, and
Mhm.
granted, I only use one suspended rod when I'm dragging, so I don't really give it a whole lot of option, about fish getting it. So, but if I get one, you will get tons of pictures of it. I promise.
Well, let me kind of switch gears a little bit. Also, I mean, I know we're talking catfishing, and but you do a lot of or have done a lot of. Didn't you used to do like bass tournaments and such as that at one time?
I did.
I thought I remembered that you did that.
Yeah.
And with that being said, how do you? I know what my opinion is on it, and I just want to get yours. How do you compare the bass fishing to catfishing? What is your comparison with that?
Well, okay. So, are we just talking just fishing in general? Or are we talking tournaments? We just or whatever.
Well, just fishing in general,
Okay.
basically.
So, really, between the two, there's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, you're still looking for the same things. You're still looking for where the bait's at. You're still looking for where the fish are going to hold. Again, where I'm at, current's still a big key. The only difference is I found that a lot of cat fishermen are a lot more courteous than a lot of bass fishermen are.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, but no, I mean that's kind of it. But I always catfished in amongst my bass fishing, because my wife always said that I always did really good in the bass tournament if I went out and I just fished, just pick something, crappie, bass, whatever, and then but see what that would do both ways would keep me in on, okay, where's the bait? So I guess in a lot of ways you're kind of searching for the same thing, It's just one's a lot more active than the other. Bass fishing compared to catfishing, but you do a lot more running around because them bass they're even more finicky than the catfish.
They are.
But I had a lot of fun doing it. It's just just like anything else, you start getting into the intertwines of anything. It's not worth the drama or the hassle or trying to change people's minds because you'll never do it. So
now, speaking of the differences and similarities, price wise, catfish is cheaper.
Yeah, well, okay, so it depends. Yes, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that statement. Now, where it gets expensive, right, is where when you start, you can buy a 14-foot John boat, Walmart rods, line the whole 9 yards. You can get you some gold crappie hooks and go catch all the catfish you want.
Yep.
But if you want to start chasing, a lot more bigger fish, you're going to need the tools of the trade. That's just how it is. I'm not saying you can't catch big fish doing it the other way, but if you want to consistently stay on top of good fish, you're going to need to get the tools of the trade. And some of these tools nowadays ain't cheap. I'm talking. I couldn't believe this boat that I bought last year. I couldn't believe how much money it was, and I got a discount. So, I remember I used to be able to get I bought my first, I'll say, quote unquote, catfish boat was a 14-foot V, what I call them, a V bottom, the old
deep V.
Deep V. And then I bought a 25 horse motor I bought the whole package for $700. Today, if you found one like that's a steal. But obviously.
I did.
Well, good. That's you stole
17-foot deep V with a 75 horse Mariner on the back of it.
Then you stole that boat for sure. But no, it's just like I said. If you and it's not even like you fishing tournaments. If you just want to, it depends on where you want to take your game to. And I'm not saying you can't catch big fish doing it, but if you want to consistently target bigger fish more often, you're going to need to get the tools of the trade.
Yeah, and the boat is not as much as we think it is. It's when it comes to the electronics.
Yeah.
Well, electronics is a lot part of it.
Yeah. Well, that and reliability. That's where I'll fall back on the boat side. It's reliability. I know a lot of people that they're fished on a budget and in good form, and some of them are better fishermen than me. For the most part, and they're fishing out of something they got to work on every week. But to be able to have the attention that you need when you're fishing, and it's any fish. I don't care what fishing you're doing. You don't want to have to worry about the little things. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you always want to focus on the big thing, the overall goal. And it's not, did I have a spark plug blowout, or is my boat going to sink because I didn't patch that rivet last week? It's just things like that. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The boat is not the biggest thing, but
it's important. It is an important thing. And don't get me wrong. It's not one of those that's not important. It is an important thing, but it's like if you had a top 10, it wouldn't be in the top 5.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I mean, we go back to bass fishing. I was catfishing out of a $70,000 bass boat. And I was sliming the crap out of it.
Oh yeah. Justin says he's got 2 boats for sale.
$700 a piece.
Yeah, there you go. No, mine's 17 foot deep V. He's got that 75, but it's the what gets me is the electronics. Because I've got a good main. It's a Garmin. But it's an older Garmin with a GPS on it, so it don't give you all the details of the side scans and all. It don't give you all that kind of stuff. But for what I use it, it's perfect.
Yeah,
I have.
It still shows me what I need to see.
Yeah, I have. I run HDS to Gen 3s, which as of right now they've been out of date for a couple of years as far as technology. But honestly, I do run the side scan. I hardly ever use it, but I pay way more attention to my sonar, and that you can get with anything. I can I say scan. I can roll across the ledge and I can tell what's down there. But I've been looking at it for years. I've been, before side scan and all this other crap came out, it was nothing but sonar. And if you ever got colored sonar, man, you were on it.
You were on it.
So but that's what I do is I'll run my sonar 90%. Well, I run it all, but I pay attention to my sonar 90% of the time because that tells me what it is, where they're at, the activity, because you'll roll across fish. And I know we'll go back to, like a lot of the guys that fish the lakes. Okay. So they rely heavy on that side scan because there's a lot of depth of water that goes out for quite a ways.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where the side scan for them is just, it's awesome. But for me, if I'm scanning for a structure like trees and stuff like that, side scans are a big help. But 90% of the time I pay attention to my sonar.
Yeah. And it goes back to doing this, the sonar and all that stuff and talking about that studying. If you're not constantly studying that and going back and going, okay, take pictures of it, studying. So, okay, this is this. What is this? Let me research a little bit more. What is this? I mean, that knowledge is what helps a lot too. Is knowing, because not anybody can sit there and look at that and go, okay, this is this is this. It takes years. It takes years to get that.
Yeah, and even looking at that stuff and thinking what it is, it's still not always going to be right.
No.
I've caught myself. I'll look at the sonar. I'm like, man, that's a wad of fish right there. That's what I'm looking for. I ain't going to say they're not what I'm looking for, but they didn't bite. And then I'll come across and I've had this happen a couple times. I'll come across one fish, or that I think is a fish. Just one. I don't see nothing else, no bait, no nothing, and I'll catch 4 or 5 fish out of that one spot.
One spot, yeah. Yeah, you look at it and you think, man, that's a huge fish. That's a good fish. Yeah. And then what you don't realize is once you get down in there and
four or 5 little big fish,
they're just piled
on top of each other
perfectly. Yeah. So, well, as much as I've been enjoying this conversation,
you're hurting, aren't you? You're hurting, aren't you?
I'm hurting bad right now. And so I don't want to bow out and everything because it's having a good conversation, but I need to cut this thing short, or at least my side needs to cut it short.
Yeah, that's what I say. I ain't got really anything where to go. I mean, we can still talk and go over stuff, but that's up to Micah if he needs to take off and go get stuff finished up for the night.
Yeah, I do need to do that.
Okay.
I gotta get a boat ready for tomorrow.
Oh, yep.
Before we shut off, what all areas do you actually travel to?
Let's see. I do a lot. Well, I stay here lately. I've been sticking locally, and that's been the Tennessee River and the Cumberland River. Okay. But I'll go to Chattanooga. I'll go to. I still haven't made out to East Tennessee yet. I say Chattanooga is East Tennessee, but further than that.
Yeah.
I still got to go up into Kentucky a little bit, fish, which I do cross into Kentucky quite a bit because where I live, I'm only like 12 minutes from Kentucky. So I've been fishing a lot of the Cumberland, but in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So
I know a spot you need to come up. I need to meet you up here in Kentucky and go on the Cumberland River.
Yeah.
I got a couple of spots that you would love to fish.
I'm game. I just love catching fish.
Just look up Del Holler Dam on the Kentucky side.
Yeah.
And it's Cumberland River. And it goes through Burkesville, Kentucky. And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the river that they've got monster fish in there. I guarantee you there's got some monster stripers, and I guarantee there's some monster catfish in there.
Oh, there has to be. Yeah. There would have to be.
They got stripers right now. They got stripers right now are tipping the scales at almost 40-something pounds.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about the way it is over on Clark's Hill with those stripers.
Yeah.
So if they're 40-something pound stripers, there's got to be some big cats, and nobody catfishes.
Yeah,
the thing is, nobody catfishes that area because it's all trout. People trout fish that part of the river.
Yeah.
So nobody catfishes.
So is it So I guess I got to ask you. So there, is it like a lot cleaner, cooler water since
Yes.
there's trout?
Green water, just nice
they-
colored green
they're-
water.
they're-
Unless it just pour down rain
Yeah.
for 2 days, it'll
Mhm.
turn muddy and runny, and I mean it's going fast. Current's good there, but it's only if they're
I bet
pushing.
there's some big flatheads in it. I bet there is.
I guarantee there's some monster flatheads in there. Yes.
Yeah, because I used to
No.
fish at the Gasconade River in Missouri, and it's big trout, smallmouth. I mean, it's clear, you know, but it has like it's got like 20, 30 foot holes in it.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, if you ever been to Missouri, you know it's big. They got rock cliffs everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, in the Ozarks anyway. But I fished it as a kid, and we pulled some really nice flatheads. I say really nice. They were probably, you know, 30, 40 pounds, but I know there's got to be bigger out of there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I mean,
And
I know when the water runs good at a decent run flow, 9 ounces barely keeps the bait on the bottom.
Yeah, and that's where you just find you a rock that something's hiding behind, or a tree, or little inside
and
eddy.
The whole bank sides are all lined up with overgrown trees into the water.
Yeah,
so you can just go. You can just pick your spot.
We'll have to get together and do that one.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. Tell us who we got on next week.
We got a nice, good show next week. It's actually going to be a first for us. It's going to be a seminar style talk. We are going to have Ted Ellenbecker on next week. So he's going to go and talk with us. Let me pull it up real quick, and I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about.
I was going to ask you, did he ever tell you?
Yeah, we know exactly what we're talking about. All right, well, we're going to go over all species, any water.
Oh wow!
So he has. If you know Ted, he's actually had a video out, produced and everything. That's very, very popular out on. You can actually, I think you can probably maybe still buy it, and it talks about all species, any water. So he's going to take that video that he produced and everything, and he's going to turn it on to talking with us next week, doing that same exact thing, talking about all species, any water. So locating fish, understanding structure, and then he's going to use some good stuff that's going to be solid, proven information. So it's going to be definitely a show nobody wants to miss.
There you go. So, and then we've got, then I assume it's been confirmed that the next week guest is good to go.
Yeah.
Or after
that one. Yep. And then we'll have Mr. Backlash Fisherman himself.
There you go. That ought to be a fun.
My buddy Bird Nest. We call him Bird Nest. Bird Nest. He actually just dropped a video out today. First cast curses. So kind of know what that meant. He bird nest.
He bird nest.
He bird nest.
I can definitely looking for that one. I can truthfully say I've only bird nested maybe half a dozen times.
See, I'm so used to spinning reels. So if I get a hold of a bait caster, I usually bird nest it every once in a while.
Well, at the times that I bird nested, it was because I wasn't paying attention. That's the only reason I bird nested. I just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, or I got sidetracked, you know, or I saw a squirrel. Oh, look, there's a squirrel, and just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Yeah, I saw that, Dominic.
And it said this part of Tennessee, Cumberland, Ohio belongs to me. Dom, trust me. No, it don't. You stay on the western side of Kentucky, and me and Micka will stay over on the eastern side.
There you
go. Middle and eastern. You can have the west side. We'll take the middle and eastern side. You stay on that west side over there.
With that being said, anything else you want to add tonight?
If it ain't raining, I'm hoping to get out tomorrow.
Yeah.
heard that.
I'm saying it's got a 60% chance of rain tomorrow, so I'm probably going to be up the creek without a paddle tomorrow. Literally,
And of course,
literally up the creek without a paddle.
Of course, you, Micah, you going out. You said you got to get the boat ready, so that's obviously you're going out tomorrow to do some fishing.
Yeah. Still, I'm still trying out them triple threat hooks.
There you go.
I'm still trying to get a more bigger fish on them hooks because
more bigger.
More bigger.
Yeah, I want to. I caught a bunch of small ones today. I think my biggest was like 12 pounds. But I want to get bigger fish.
You're making KB over there jealous because his biggest one was like what 9 pounds today.
Today, yeah, it was 9, and I wasn't even the one that caught that one. That was Jim.
No.
Yeah,
the biggest one I caught was like 8 pounds.
Oh, really?
So, but we were on a lot of our problem this morning, which it was still a good day, but our problem this morning, we did not have any graphs, anything.
No. And fog hurts you. Hurts you to find anything.
Yeah, there was that, of course, that first thing for sure. You couldn't even see right, dead in front of you. But we didn't have any. We didn't have any electronics to look for or see where we were at, and we just knew that where we were positioned at. Especially Jim. He knew he had caught fish this time of the year, and that's so we decided that's where we were going to go. And so doing, we just kind of did a Hail Mary, and of course it paid off, but we got into a bunch of little fish. And
that's what I got into today. It was kind of weird because I was actually in big fish area, and I'm almost positive I come across some bigger fish. I don't know if just the small ones are just a little bit more aggressive right now, so they get to the bait first, or how that's working out. But
that's what I say. They know the temperature and all that stuff is changing. The weather's changing, so they're going to be a little bit more faster. They're going to try to beat because they know the big fish is going to take all the food on them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of what I was running into today. But a lot of fun still yet. I just want to, for a true hook test, I want to catch more bigger fish. So
I think I'm gonna do it. I think the next video that I do, I'm gonna label it "Going After Mo Better Fish." Mo better, mo better. And I usually say I'm going after Moby. I try to. I've been after Moby for a while. Kelly got his Moby, and now I'm ready to get my Moby.
Do I need to show my Moby?
No, don't show your Moby. We ain't got time. So, anyways, all right. Well,
what you mean this? You mean this Moby?
Oh my God! Here we go.
You mean that Moby?
Every week, I'm gonna.
I'm still waiting on yours. I'm still waiting on your big tank.
Oh, it'll happen.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
Oh yeah. I've still got. Next month. I'm going. Was talking about Lake Wiley. That's where I'm going next month, and I'm going. I'm going actually in a 2-day tournament up there with Southeastern. Dang it, Southeastern Catfish Club. They do. This will be their 3rd year doing it. I think I'm right at that. It's Big Money Showdown. And it's a 2-day tournament, and it's really fun. It's a really fun tournament to do. But I'll be doing that, and while I'm up there, I'm really hoping to get my Moby while I'm up there. So I'll be with good people. I'll be with Richard this time. I'm not taking my boat this time. I'll actually be on the boat with Richard. So I have a better chance of getting on my boat Moby this time than I did the last few times.
Well, definitely good luck to you then. Hope you get him.
Thank you. All right, if that's going to be everything, I'm going to go ahead and end this show. I got to go take some medicine and relax for a little bit before I can get to sleep. So appreciate you, Micah, coming in and doing a show. I'd love to have you back, later on if you game. And
definitely.
Kind of pick your brain a little bit more. It was really fun. That was some good information for sure. And so with that being said, as I always say after each end of the show, We appreciate everybody in chat coming in. Obviously, that's a no-brainer right there. And with that being said, always keep that wind to your back and your baits in the water. And we will be seeing you next week. Y'all have a good night,
guys. See y'all next week.